enjoy this best of Extra Points. Any of you that have ever seen our show know it's hard to find best of, so our crew worked overtime. Enjoy this show. We're fortunate to have Jerry Crawford joining us this week.
Am I the guest because it's a journey to mediocrity?
No, you're the guest to try to drag us up out of the way we're mired in mediocrity. So we appreciate you having on, and we appreciate you being on with us. I really have to jump into your role with the Iowa Energy, and you know, obviously we've got hockey coming to town, and you have a grasp on that like the rest of us only wish we did. How's that going to impact things? Will it work? How does that impact the Iowa Energy? Where do we start?
Yeah, where do we start? I mean, it's a very long story, including the fact that I'm the person who tried to bring hockey to town back in 2003, ironically, with the Minnesota Wild. Yep. What we did was we put together a joint venture where we were going to own and manage an AHL hockey team, the Wild's AHL hockey team, and we were going to manage Wells Fargo Arena. Mm-hmm. And we had done extensive community research, and we had determined that AHL hockey would lose about $1.5 million a year in this community, but that the profitability from managing the arena would significantly offset that, and it was a very reasonable commercial venture if you combine the two.
We'd be remiss after the Derby week and everything leading up to that, and the success that you've had in recent years in the horse game, if we didn't talk to you a little bit about that and what drew you to it. I mean, you obviously have a passion for sports, but you got a day job too. Tell me about how you're able to do so many things and do them so well.
Well, long story short, I grew up on a farm next door to my paternal grandparents, and my paternal grandfather loved horses of any kind, involved in any activity, not just racehorses. In fact, we spent more time going to the rodeo than we did going to watch racehorses. But I just grew up with that, with the love of the horse. And I have to be careful because I can kind of carry on a little when I start talking. I mean, I'm just back from several weeks in Kentucky, where every single morning I went out and spent time with the 4 new Patio Prado foals that have been born in the last 2 months.
Wow.
And you know, that's my happy place.
Will you be back at the Derby with one of those too?
I certainly hope so. That would be very exciting. You know, it's special when you have homebreds who are successful. We have one of the top 5 older turf horses in the country right now that I bred. And there's something about being there on day one that makes it even more special. The thing I would say about the Derby this year, we've had the great blessing of finishing third 2 of the 3 previous years with Patio Prado and Dullahan. This is the first time in 20 years, and I'm talking before the Derby, and I've said this to some of your colleagues in other media outlets. Before the Derby, I said, this is the first time in 20 years I felt like there's a horse that has the potential to win the Triple Crown, and I said that horse was Orb. He has been managed so well in terms of not being overused prior to the Kentucky Derby. Right. He won the Kentucky Derby easily. He's really on his toes this week in terms of the workout that he had. I think it's going to take something very surprising to beat him. And by the way, a Triple Crown winner would be sensational for the business.
It's great for the sport.
Yeah.
I got to go one more step with you. I run a place that works with at-risk kids that uses horses and the equine assisted therapy, equine assisted learning. I'm not a horse guy.
Yeah.
They won't even let me on a Percheron, but the reality is seeing what horses do and that bond, I can hear it in your voice, I can see it in your face. That's something real, and it's something that unlocks the hearts and minds of the at-risk kids we work with. But I'm interested in hearing your description of that.
Well, we see this first person and up close on a regular basis because for whatever reason, at-risk kids with special needs respond to working with horses almost unlike any other modality.
I've witnessed it.
That's been found, yeah. And when we get to be in a position where one of our horses is finished with its racing career and then see it have a whole new career and it creates that kind of happiness with people who maybe don't get as much of it as the rest of us. Yep. I mean, it's incredibly special. But I just say there's something about being around a horse. Ronald Reagan said it best. There's something about the outside of a horse that's good for the inside of a man.
At what point do people stop and say, hey, integrity, some of those things are more important than wins and losses. At what point do universities, institutions of higher learning step up and take their value statement seriously?
Well, there really needs to be two kinds of college athletics. The kind where anything goes, where it's essentially a professional undertaking, the SEC in football.
We don't have that already?
Comes quickly to mind. Yeah,
Yes,
we do.
right.
Kentucky in basketball comes quickly to mind. Also in the SEC, ironically. If they want to go off and have some conference where it's an anything goes kind of undertaking, well, then that's fine. But in the meantime, I think that we also need to recognize that college athletics has become a business where people are used, and I would argue that African Americans are used disproportionately to Caucasian Americans. And until Johnny second grader knows that he's got to be able to read and write at appropriate grade level in order to be eligible.
More than just a lip service level.
In order to be eligible to play high school sports, we're never going to get anywhere. And that's what needs to happen.
I was one of the few people, Mark, and I know we had this conversation on the air, when the thing came out, whether it was Southeast Polk or some of the other high school situations where you had kids failing a class, and I'm going to sue. The parents are going to sue to allow the kid to participate, even though the rules clearly say if you're failing a class, you can't. It's a bigger issue than just college athletics. But at what point does the pendulum swing back, or does it?
Well, I think a lot of families are dysfunctional today. And are you going to put all that on the shoulders of the educational system?
You can't.
So there's a lot of things. There's poverty. There's so much involved in this that I don't know if there's one single answer.
We're looking to you for answers, Hanson. Step up.
That was my answer. There is no answer.
There's also the argument, Joe Jungleward on the Des Moines School Board makes the point that for some kids, athletics is the only connection they have to something positive in their life, and that it's important to keep kids involved in a positive activity when they go home every night to a place that maybe isn't as positive.
Amen. And we see that time and time again. We appreciate you coming on. We appreciate the conversation. We hope you'll do it again.
All right.
We'll be back with more Extra Points and Mark Hanson's Extra Point right after this.
That's magic. This is not. No magic can help you get in shape, and it won't happen overnight. You need a plan, commitment, and more often than not, you will need help. That's what the Y does best. They have the finest facilities and equipment and a professional staff trained to help you succeed. If you and your family are serious about living an active, healthier lifestyle, why wait? Join the Y today and let tomorrow be the start of a healthier you.
Overwhelmed? Frustrated? Not sure what to do with your garage? Let the professional design team at Minnesota Cabinets be your garage organization solution. Floors, cabinetry, slapboard walls, and other accessories, all custom designed to maximize your space and be easy on your budget. Let Minnesota Cabinets, your trusted solution for kitchen cabinets, bring some peace of mind to your garage too. Wait till your neighbors see this. Minnesota Cabinets, home and garage on 100th Street in Urbandale.
Wayne Cooley could have been just about anything he wanted. Hedge fund manager, college professor, big band leader, military strategist, owner of a Major League Baseball team. Wait, he already owned stock in the Chicago Cubs. And come to think of it, he did teach a class at Grinnell. I could go on and on. For some reason, though, he became a trailblazer, an early champion for girls' high school athletics. While almost everyone else lived in a world where sports were mostly for boys, Cooley was one of the first to ask an important question: why? As head of the Iowa Girls Athletic Union, he spent almost 50 years doing something about it. He was Mr. Title IX before it was cool. Until he rolled up his sleeves and started pushing for equality, it was like people were sleepwalking, living in a world where girls don't care about sports as much as boys, a world where girls have cheerleading and dance, and that's enough, end of discussion. Cooley was one of the first to say, hold on, maybe that's because girls don't know how much fun it is or how healthy. Maybe it's because nobody bothered to give them a chance. Yes, Cooley put on a great show, turning the girls' state basketball tournament into an extravaganza. He was a great showman, all right. When it came to creating a level playing field for the girls, he showed the way.
People like to see a return on their investment. Is it time for you to make an investment in your health? The YMCA has great locations, facilities, equipment, and a staff dedicated and trained to help you succeed. And it's affordable to all. The Y offers boot camp classes, a pool, wellness coaches, complimentary child watch, and so much more. If you and your family are serious about living an active, healthier lifestyle, why wait? Join the Y today and let tomorrow be the start of a healthier you.
Welcome back to Extra Points. As promised, we're going to get into little Iowa Cubs baseball and baseball in general. And Mr. Gardner, obviously,
Mr. Gardner.
Michael, Mr. Gardner. You'll always be Mr. Gardner to me.
Yeah, I mean, looking for my father.
I was raised to be respectful, particularly when you're.
When does it kick in?
Well, when Shelton's sitting here, he and I go back and forth. But now, that's why I'm so flustered today. I've got to actually, think about what I'm going to say.
Is that a first?
That's a challenge. Yes. When the history of your baseball club in this town is fascinating to me, and there's a lot of our viewers that have no idea. I mean, I go back into the Iowa Oaks, and then obviously it's been the Cubs. And when did you enter into the mix? And describe the genesis there.
I called up Kenny Granquist, who owned the team, and I said, I heard the Cubbies are for sale. And he says, where'd you hear that? And I said, well, does it make any difference? And he said, well, no. And he says, what if they were for sale? He says, what if I was thinking of selling? I said, well, if you were thinking of selling, I'd be thinking of buying. He says, come on down. So I went down that afternoon, and we made a deal, a handshake deal. Wow. It was right before the '99 season opened, and about a week later, the season opened, and it was a snowy night, and he dropped dead in his box. And nobody knew we had a deal.
Yep.
And then potential buyers came out of the woodwork. And Mike and I, we didn't know what to do. We didn't know who owned the team or anything. And as it turned out, he had told his wife, Linda, that he was talking to us. And so I went to her and I said, I had a deal with Kenny. And she said, yeah, he told me that. And she raised the price a little bit. But she was ready to sell to somebody else. And we said, if we match it, will you sell it to us? Because we had a deal. And she said, yeah. So Mike and I, we said, in for a dime, in for a dollar. And we raised it. And I'm glad we did. And she's glad we did. And it's been...
and the rest is history.
And the rest is...
Talk a little bit about Ken Granquist and the impact that he had on just sports in general in this country, but specifically here in Central Iowa.
Well, Kenny, he was a real estate guy with Bill Knapp for a long time, and he was sort of the founder of Prairie Meadows in a way, and got that off the ground. And then the baseball team was owned by a guy named Ray Johnston, who lived he was a travel agent. I think he lived in Dallas.
Yep. And
Ray's view of the team was, gee, it's great. It's even better when nobody comes down because it's fun just to be down there with my pals. And he'd walk around and talk to you. And he owned a DC-3 that was the team plane, I think. And ultimately he decided to sell it. And at the time, I was the editor of the Register, and I wanted to buy it for the newspaper, but the newspaper owners didn't think that was a very good idea and could have bought it for about $500,000. And so Kenny put together a group, and he and the Easters and Rich Eichner and some others bought it, and ultimately Kenny bought them all out, and he owned, I think, 95% by the time we bought it.
Wow.
But he built it up from, I must say, he bought it for $500,000 and sold it for $11 million, so he did okay.
Both minor league and Major League Baseball right now. Obviously the fans, all we see is the salaries and those things, but the health of the game right now.
Well, the best person to talk to about that would be my partner, Sam Burnaby. He not only is the general manager of the Iowa Cubs, he's the president of the Board of Trustees of all of minor league baseball, and has been for the last 5 or 6 years. He has a better sense of it than I do, so anything I say is just my interpretation of what he says.